Test 1, 2, 3. Everybody hear me at home?
I can.
All right.
Yeah, and if you certainly jump in there too.
I'll jump in if I.
Yeah.
Want to see if the owl will find me if I'm talking. There we go. This today. You want to do it or you want to start?
Yeah. Just hold this or
Yep.
flip it.
Or clip it. If you want to clip it, and I'll pass this one around. There you
And my,
go. You are live.
okay. I'll stand here.
So you should be showing up on that box up there
Well, I'm not.
when you talk. You
Okay,
gotta-
it'll come to me. All right. Well, welcome everybody to our last pre-trip meeting. A month from now, we will be in Athens. Yeah. And the skies will be clear by then, I'm sure, in Europe. But tonight, we're going to go through last minute stuff. I'm going to just talk a little bit about one of our sites that we're going to be seeing, which is Ephesus in Western Turkey. Talking a little bit about the free day we have in Rome. We're still working on possibilities, but I'm going to share a couple of things you might want to do there. And I'm going to talk about that first. And again, if we want to go around and introduce ourselves, just our names and maybe one thing you're looking forward to on this trip. And then we'll dive into all the activity. And Gail and Chris will jump in whenever. So Paul Bolgren, for those of you who don't know me, I was a pastor here at Grace, or here at St. John's from 1982 to 2001. And then I was at Grace Lutheran in Grafton from 2001 till my retirement 2 years ago. And so traveled a number of times with Gail and my wife, Karen, and I, who can introduce herself. Since our retirement, we now drive down from Grafton and we worship here at St. John's. So we'll go to Karen.
I'm going to pass these around. This is a microphone, so everybody else.
So your name and maybe one thing you're looking forward to on the trip.
Okay, my name is Karen Boldgren, and I'm looking forward to being away from home.
Yeah.
I'm Pat Gardner, and I'm just looking forward to being with friends and meeting new ones.
I'm Dale Oisted, and I haven't been overseas since at least 95 because that's when my passport expired, was in 95.
I'm Bob Davis. I haven't taken a trip like this at all. I've taken motorcycle trips around in different states, but like I say, I've been to New York. That's about it, right? California,
Been a few other places,
Yeah,
but
but
never out of the country.
not out of the country. So this is going to be
Good.
very unique.
I'm Karen Davis, and I can't wait to see Athens and the Acropolis and all of the history. It's phenomenal.
I'm Nancy Harrell. This is the fourth trip I've taken with Chris and Gail. We always have a great time, so I'm just looking forward to learning a lot and another great time.
I'll quote you on that. What's yours?
Dan Harrell, also my fourth trip. Really looking forward to seeing Athens again.
Deb Gerner, I'm looking forward to Greece since I've never been there.
Tammy Bame, I'm looking forward to getting out of this state too. I haven't been international in quite a while. Be my third trip with Deb. I can't wait to get to know all you more.
I'm Dolly. I just wanted to go to Greece for years and years. I think I can just about ditto everything else that everyone else has said. It's going to be nice to get out of the country, to just go someplace. We haven't really done anything since the pandemic. So here's to Greece.
And I'm Dale Kirkner, and I'm looking forward to just the same things that Dolly's looking forward to. she had really planned to go without me, but I am coming along. So but I'm really looking forward to a good time. I like friends and I like people, and I think we see a lot of friendly people here. And I'm a good friend of Pastor Chris. All the respect in the world for him, and I know I'll enjoy that.
And I'm Gail. And I've been on this trip before, and it's one of my favorite because of the difference between being in a hotel in Rome and being in a hotel in Athens, but then getting to go on a cruise. And it just takes the whole thing and gives it a new atmosphere. And I'm also looking forward to sharing it with the other Dale that's on the trip. And the last time he was on the Mediterranean, he was on a ship and he shared a room with how many people? 16 other people, a bunk room. All guys.
Before we get to the people at home, also going on the trip are Dave Coe, who has been a friend of Karen and mine since, well, I met him and his wife our first week here at St. John's 41 years ago, and Cheryl Fraser, but they're currently on a cruise on the Danube, so we feel sorry for them. And you want Butch and Jill?
My sister, Jill and Butch, they went to Israel with us last fall, and they're currently in Florida taking their grandson.
Okay, and then Chris and the people at home.
Yeah, who wants to go at home? Jan?
Oh,
Make sure you-
hi. I'm just looking forward to seeing some countries I've never been to.
Wonderful. All right. Brian? You clicked the wrong button.
Oh.
Or Linda, you want to go? Whoever wants to unmute themselves. There we go.
So we're looking forward to the trip. We haven't been to this area of the world at all. And I'm hoping someone can point me to a good Italian pizza over there.
In Greece?
Any place.
All right, we'll find one. We get you
My
both?
wife's for her, so.
We get you both?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, and Linda?
I'm Linda Beck. I'm from Rome, Wisconsin, and I'm looking forward to go to Europe. Never been there before.
All right, it's gonna be wonderful.
Very
Yep,
good.
and I'm Chris Mankey. I'm the Director of Outreach for Hope and was at St. Matthew's for 24 years and love doing these trips, and so really excited about it. It's gonna be wonderful.
Good, good. Well, before I start talking about what we might want to think about on our free day and a short little look at Ephesus, let's have a word of prayer. Gracious Lord, we thank you for this pilgrimage of faith that is coming up so quickly. We pray that we will have safe travels. We pray that we will have enjoyable travels. We pray that we will make new friends. And above all, we pray that as we go to these ancient places, as we hear the stories of the Bible and understand the ministry and the courage and the faith of the Apostle Paul and those other early Christians, that our faith will be strengthened as well. So thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. Thank you for blessing us with the ability to do something. And may we truly become pilgrims who follow in Paul's footsteps as we grow in faith. All this we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, very briefly, one of the things you have the opportunity is our last day in Rome is going to be a free day. And what's really nice is if you've looked up where our hotel is in Rome, it is in a wonderful location. We are a couple of blocks from the Vatican. We are about a mile from the Pantheon, one of the great sites, which I don't think we're going to see on our tour, a little over a mile from the Roman Forum, the Colosseum, the Circus Maximus. We're in a wonderful, wonderful place to just do some walking and exploring. So on your free day, we're working with Ami. Some people would maybe like to take a side trip someplace, and we're still diddling, we're negotiating. I don't know what the word we want to use with Ami on that. But you also just have an opportunity to have a free day to wander around Rome. My wife and our daughter Samantha and I had a free day in Rome when we were there in 2018, and we just loved it. It was one of the highlights of our trip. One of the things I talked about in one of our previous times together, I showed you the pictures of that cat sanctuary that was located where Julius Caesar was actually assassinated. This week, last Tuesday, we could go today, that opened to the public. And so now if you want to, on your free days, one of the sites to see is you can go to, it's about a 2 city block area. It's actually about 20 feet under the current level of the streets of Rome. Down there are 4 temples, the remnants of 4 temples from the time of the Roman Republic. And it was in one of those spots that the old Roman Senate house stood. And that's where Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC. And you now can go down and walk around, and there are cats everywhere. And it's wonderful. The cats they're cared for, they're fed, they have all their veterinary needs taken care of. We saw it when we were there in 2018. And I think from our daughter Samantha was the highlight of the trip for Samantha, because we're cat people. And across the street is a really good gelato shop too. So anyway, yeah. You're in Italy, it's gelatos and cannolis and who cares what else, right? So just do some looking, go online, find out where our hotel is, look at everything that it's around there, because when we were there 5 years ago, we were way outside, but here you'll have the opportunity to just, if you'd like, to just walk and explore, or you can hire a cab, or you can do something else. But it's so nice that we're going to have that free day. And as we go along on the trip, we'll talk more and more about, what you might want to think about doing. But just go online. There are tons of videos. You can see some of these places and kind of think about what might we like to do on our free day in Rome. Yes, Gail.
But the 2 things that we did last time, some people took the free day, went to the train station and took the
Say that all again for a minute.
Okay, I will repeat that. Okay. Last trip, some people on the free day took the train up to Florence and spent the day in Florence. And the schedules are very easy to learn about at the hotel desk. And it's very easy to get to the train station. And the other destination was Pompeii. And there are trips like Gray Line tours or something like that we're familiar with, that we can access either via our guide or by the hotel.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to, that 2 out of town
Out of town, unless you just, like you say, you can just spend the time in Rome. Italy, if you've never been there, has high-speed rail. We're talking 150 miles an hour. So you can get to Florence in a very short time. Pompeii is on the coast, but it's a couple-hour bus ride, beautiful bus ride. And Pompeii was one of my bucket listers, and probably the most important archaeological site in the world. And so that's an option for you, but it's your choice what you'd like to do. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, the day before you head home.
So we adjusted it because we really wanted to make sure we got some time where people could choose.
Yeah.
Okay, because whatever I.
Okay.
Whatever is being sent out, if it's posted on your website, I cannot access.
Sure, yeah.
So this could be,
Yeah. And as we're traveling, we'll update. The schedule may change slightly every day, such as when we're in Athens with the huge crowds. Our guide in Athens is the head of the Greece Tourist Bureau, whatever the official thing is. So, we may say we'd like to get to the Parthenon real early. And so so things may adjust a little bit during the day. We're all flexible. So each day you'll get a rundown of what we're actually going to do that day. So that's our best guess as of now, but we will be flexible. So one of the places we are going to go on our trip is the ancient city of Ephesus. And I'm just going to share a few slides of Ephesus, which is another one of those amazing archaeological, it's not just a site, it's an ancient city that is there. And Ephesus is, next one, is located on the west coast of Turkey. It's a couple of miles inland from the sea. And in the ancient world, in Roman time, the history of Ephesus goes back 8,000 years. But in Roman times, it was one of the largest cities in the Roman Empire, probably at least 250,000 people. Greek speaking, and again, what is today Turkey was the Roman province of Asia and all Greek speaking areas. And Paul traveled to spent much of his missionary time in modern day Turkey. And so next one. And so ancient Ephesus is known for the magnificent theater we'll talk about, all the Cardo, which is the ancient business passageway, all kinds of, there's the temple, the library of Celsius, which we'll see in a minute, and magnificent buildings and shops. And it's been excavated, you can go to the next one. It's been excavated over the last 100 and something years. It's known most famously for one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It's no longer there except for a tiny little bit, but high on the Acropolis outside of Ephesus was the Temple of Artemis. And this temple was a football field and a half long, to give you an idea of how enormous it was. And Artemis, or the Roman goddess Diana, the goddess of the hunt, the goddess of crops and fertility, she was the major deity in Ephesus, and she was worshipped, and can have the next one. And not only was she worshipped, but she was big business. This is a depiction of Artemis. And as I said at one of our times, an interesting character. She's got all of these, and no one's quite sure what those are. It has been, since she's the goddess of fertility, they could be a whole lot of breasts. It's been suggested, since she's the goddess of fertility, those could be bull scrotum. Interesting. It's been suggested those could perhaps be something related to beehives. We just don't know. But the goddess Artemis was at the center of the huge cult that was based in Ephesus. Okay, next one. And whenever you go someplace, if you'd like to buy trinkets, this is just a picture I took when we were in London, you know, where you can buy anything and everything. It was the same in the ancient world. Tourists and pilgrims would come to the Temple of Artemis. And one of the biggest businesses in Ephesus, and you'll find this story in Acts chapters 18 and 19, where there were silversmiths who would make tiny little statues of the goddess Artemis. And they would sell them to the pilgrims to take home as little shrines, little votive gods to pray to. And when Paul came to town, Paul was able to do amazing things through the power of Jesus Christ. And Paul spent more time in Ephesus than anywhere else. He was there, we think, for 2 years. And he started converting so many people that it hurt the business of the silversmiths. You can go to the next one. And I'll come back to the silversmiths in a minute, but one of the major archaeological sites, you can go back to the next one.
I'm trying to fix this.
Oh, I
Sorry.
thought I had people inside of it.
Yeah. That was my fault.
Well, we can put them in the middle of the,
Okay.
okay, next one you can go to. In Ephesus is this enormous temple. The Greeks and the Romans are a theater. They loved theater. And so this theater, we think, could seat 30,000 people. How much American Family Field seats? 42 on a good day, okay? And some of these ancient theaters actually had awnings over them. So it's not, you know, the Colosseum in Rome actually had awnings like the roof at Miller. They could close on sunny days. And so next one. And when you talk about the archaeology of Ephesus, this is what the hillside, this is the theater right there. And this is what it looked like. This is a colorized picture from about 130 years ago. When archaeologists came to Ephesus, that's what they saw. And when we're in Ephesus, you will see all kinds of green and wooded area because only a tiny fraction of the city has been excavated. Next one. Here's an aerial view of what it looks like today. Again, 30,000 people. And what happened in Ephesus, you can go to the next one too. And this is what it probably looked like. The ancients, as much as we don't think about it, they painted everything. All the great statues from the ancient world, the friezes on the outside of the Parthenon, they were all painted gaudy, bright colors. Now we're used, the Venus de Milo is this beautiful marble statue. She was painted head to toe. And so here in Ephesus, this is the back of the theater. It was built for sound projection. And I've heard that someone can stand down here and speak at a normal voice and people can hear it at the top of the theater. What happened in Ephesus is when Paul was being bad for business by preaching Jesus Christ, the silversmiths actually had a riot. And they wanted to grab Paul and his compatriots, and they wanted to haul them to this temple for a trial. You can go to the next slide, which is the quote from the book of Acts, which actually mentions this theater we're going to see. It says, when they heard this, they were enraged and shouted, "Great is the Artemis of the Ephesians," all these silversmiths. They yelled that for 2 hours straight. So imagine trying to get a word in edgewise as they're all yelling. And the city was filled with confusion, and people rushed together to the theater, dragging with them Gaius and Aristarchus, Macedonians who were Paul's traveling companions. And Paul wished to go into the crowd, but the disciples would not let him. Even some officials of the province of Asia who were friendly to him sent him a message urging him not to venture into the theater. Stay away. And after this riot, Paul packs up and he leaves Ephesus. But when we see this theater, we'll see a spot where that actual riot took place 1970 years ago. Okay, next one, please. Again, you'll see all kinds of wonderful things. Ephesus, it's very hilly country. The city was a harbor, one of the major harbors, but over the centuries, the harbor silted up, the river that ran into Ephesus, it's a couple of miles inland, silted up, and the city kind of dwindled away, and it was actually abandoned completely about 500 years ago. And it just dwindled over the centuries. So it was forgotten, abandoned. And so everything grew up around it, and we'll see what has been excavated by the archaeologists in the last century or so. Okay, next one, please. And what they have excavated is amazing. These huge, huge buildings, some of them still standing, some of them have been reconstructed. Okay, next one. This is one of the most famous. This is the Library of Celsus, which was built during the reign of the Emperor Hadrian, who was emperor from 118 to 135. You will be quizzed on all the Roman emperors on this, so you better start memorizing who came when and where. This is an amazing, gorgeous building, and you'll be able to, we probably will take a picture, every group takes a picture in front of the temple of the Library of Celsus. Next one. You walk down the main street of Ephesus, and what's nice is it's downhill. It's a gentle downhill all the way, but you'll see these ruins everywhere, rubble everywhere as the archaeological dig continues to go. Next one, please. Again, these are just a couple of the views of some of what you'll see when you're at Ephesus. Again, this one here, this road, it was lined with the houses of the rich and also with the shops of the merchants all along the street. Next one. Again, you'll see these beautiful arches still standing after 1900 years. And that's just amazing. It is a feast for the eyes as you walk through the city of Ephesus. Next one. This is the smaller temple. Ephesus actually, our smaller theater. Ephesus has 2 theaters. This one I think seats about 12,000 people. So they had the little theater and the big theater. That's how big this city was. Again, we're talking a metropolis of up to 250,000 people. Next one, please. And one of the things you see all through Europe, if you like cats, we're from a family that has lots of cats. There are cats wandering everywhere. You will see them in Athens. You'll see cats everywhere in Athens. These were just some of the cats. My daughter Samantha took pictures of every cat she could find. You'll just see cats everywhere, and I told her I'd put a picture of cats in. So keep your eyes open for cats. And next one. This is a public latrine. Ephesus had public works that rivaled anything you would see in Europe for the next 1700 years. In a few minutes, I'll show you a picture of an underground water sewer line. There were public latrines where you'd go and you'd sit and you'd do your business. You do your business, but you'd also do business because merchants would go to the public latrines, and while they're sitting there, they would discuss business and they would do deals. And so you'll still see some of these public latrines when you are in Athens, or in Ephesus. Just amazing. Again, something we don't think about, but that's what's part of the ancient world.
Captive audience.
Captive audience.
Captive audience.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll see inscriptions down here. You see the Chi Rho, or Chi Tau. It's a Christian symbol. So that was engraved when Christianity was the dominant in religion in Ephesus. So this would have been 5th, 6th, 7th century AD. And then you'll also see this one. This is another inscription, and it mentions, it's all in Greek, but the Emperor Traiano, the Emperor Trajan, who was emperor from 98 to 117. So you get 1,000 years of occupation and inscriptions and history, and it's just wonderful to walk around and see all those things. This is in a carving at Ephesus, and that is the Artemis. That's Artemis, or Diana, again, with her big, tall hat filled with fruit, her multitudinous, whatever those are, on her chest, and the animals, because again, she's a goddess of fertility. Next one. And again, more inscriptions. This is a water cistern. Okay, these are pipes. You can see it right here. Underground pipes, because there was a huge aqueduct. It's a very hilly area. So the aqueducts would bring water down to the city. There would be fountains. There would be places where you could get water. And then there would also be running water, maybe not for the whole city, but at least for those who could afford it. They would have running water, and they would have those public latrines would have water running through it, and it would take away the waste. The Romans and the Greeks were great at those kind of keeping clean. That's why baths were so big. When we're in Rome, you'll see the baths of Caracalla. Keeping clean was so important to them. This is a huge, huge, huge inscription in Greek. This dates from the 4th century AD, and I think it has to do with the Emperor Gratian. Just another huge monumental inscription showing the history of this place. And that's a view of the main street. You will walk down, that's the temple of, that's the Library of Celsus. You're going to walk down that street. And there's a store along here, which the guide will probably point out, where on the outside there is a game board scratched into the stone, because the merchant or customers would sit outside when business was slow, and whatever game it was, they'd just sit and play a game on the sidewalk 2,000 years ago in Ephesus. All right, almost done here. One other place we're going to see, I think it's on our tour of Ephesus, it's a one-day tour, is we're going to go, this is the traditional site of the House of the Virgin Mary. It's not in the Bible, but according to church tradition, the Apostle John took Mary and he cared for her. There's a verse in John's Gospel, chapter 19, when Jesus hangs on the cross and he asked the beloved disciple to take care of his mother. So tradition says that Mary moved to the area outside of Ephesus, and that's where she spent the rest of their days. And there is this beautiful, beautiful little religious site there. There's a couple more here. This little chapel dedicated to the Virgin Mary. And then the last one, which is what's really neat, is last slide I have, is these are all prayer requests, because pilgrims, especially for Roman Catholic, you know how big Mary is in Roman Catholicism, they come and they write their prayers. It's kind of like the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, and they put them there. And this entire huge wall is just filled with the prayer requests of the pilgrims, because we will, don't mean to spoil it for you, we're not going to be the only people there. We're going to see a couple of other people, and there's many of them are religious pilgrims as well. And I think that was just such a touching thing, that all these people who left their prayer requests at this beautiful, beautiful place out in the hillside, covered with trees. It's just a lovely little place, and we'll be stopping there. So anyone have any questions on anything I shared right there? And again, as we go on the trip, maybe not every day, but a number of nights on the trip, we'll just get together with wine or a drink or whatever you'd like, and we'll just sit and talk about what we saw that day. I will be sharing with you, how this all relates to the scriptures. If you'd like to do some biblical reading, what's really nice about the trip is you don't have to read a whole lot. If you want to go and read Acts chapters, probably 16 through 20, that will cover most of where we're going. Chapter 17 is about Athens. Chapters 18 and 19 have to do with Ephesus. Chapter 20, Paul heads back over to Greece. And chapter 16, 17, he's also in Corinth, which we'll visit. So just that little bit of the book of Acts will get you a lot. The book of Acts really doesn't tell us much about Paul in Rome. He arrives in Rome at the very end of the book of Acts. And so I plan to reread the book of Acts, and if that might be a nice thing for you to read as well, just to get a little familiar with that. So I look forward to sharing the scriptures with you and our adventures with you. For those of you who don't know me, I was an ancient history major in college. I love this stuff. 13 years ago on a sabbatical, I had a wonderful opportunity to be a volunteer excavator at a Roman fort in northern England. And so you will see me walking around like this on the trip, except in Ephesus, where they tell you you can't pick anything up. But other places you might find something, and it's perfectly okay. Yeah, just if you find a little piece of pottery or something like that, don't break anything off a statue or anything like that. But yes.
Yeah.
Question about steps. I didn't see any railings and anything. Is that uncommon?
In Ephesus, you're walking down a street. Yeah. Yeah, I think like at the place, the Virgin Mary, when you go up, there are hand railings. These countries are very cognizant of tourists, and so they're very good about that. And one of the things we do say on the trip is if we're going someplace, say walking up to the Parthenon, okay? If you're not good, if you say, I don't know if I want to do that, you know what? There's a restaurant, there's a bar at the bottom of the hill in the shade. If you want to just sit and relax, you're welcome to do that. Again, some places will have railings, others, they're ancient archaeological sites. You may not see one, like the Areopagus, the stone in Athens, the big mountaintop. I don't know if there was anything getting up to there. The ship is wonderfully understanding. In fact, the Rick Steves video that I watched last night, he talks about how accommodating they are to some people who maybe have a little bit of difficulty getting around. And so that's a good one to ask our guide for each place we go. How is this with hand railings, all those kind of things? All right, that's the best answer I can give you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone else? All right, thank you. I'll turn it over.
Want to talk about, were you doing the free day?
Pardon?
Were you gonna do the free day or?
We talked a little bit about that already at the
Feel like
beginning.
you
Yeah.
got it? Go ahead. Here.
Where do you want me to stand? What do you want?
Here's this back.
We can give her this one.
Okay, I'll keep this in case.
There we go.
Got it.
Just like
Okay, all right.
Maybe
Um,
here, yeah.
You want me back here?
Just a little bit.
All right.
There you go. It'll find it.
Good enough?
You
Okay.
top it.
Okay. Okay. I'm more used to being at an organ than I'm, playing the organ than doing this kind of thing. Okay, I just want to introduce the situation that Pat was talking about. The itinerary on the website, which I have trouble getting on as well, is the old itinerary. What happened is Scandinavian Air canceled the flight that we were supposed to come home on, which was the following day. We had to shorten the itinerary by 1 day, and Rome was the only place we could shorten it because the rest of the trip was all planned. So thus, what we're trying to do, and it will happen, when we arrive in Rome about a little bit after 1 o'clock on Monday. And instead of just having kind of a casual day and going to see 3 coins in the fountain, which we did last time, I have a feeling that we are going to cram something very significant into that first half day in Rome. I don't know what it'll be, because it'll be a matter of getting entry into the Colosseum or it's just a matter of how they can maneuver it. So that's why you see that itinerary kind of messed up. So what we're doing is we're cramming into Monday what we generally did partly on Tuesday, and then Tuesday will be full of all the other stuff. So you may lose a few things, but there was just nothing we could do about that. So, and that's called, the airlines at that time were reducing flights to save money. Well, now everybody wants to go. They probably could have filled all those seats, but that was 11 months ago that we were working on this. So that's the reason. Okay. All right, so as we're talking about this, I have the schedule for the cruise, and we will leave port on Friday to start on the cruise, and you will at 11:30 in the morning. And you will go to Mykonos, and that's just kind of a wander around kind of trip day.
Nothing biblical, it's just pretty.
It's pretty, yeah, right. It is, it's beautiful. And then the next morning, when you wake up, you will be in Kusadasi, which is the port for Ephesus. So Ephesus comes right away, so that's kind of exciting. So, okay. All right, let's go to the things that I'm supposed to cover. Leaving St. John's, we are going with Accutran, which is a transit company that we've used before. And we are going to have a 23-passenger minivan. There is not enough room for 2 pieces of luggage for every person in this van. And Swiss Scandinavian Air won't let you check 2 pieces of luggage. So 1 piece of luggage per person, plus whatever you carry on. And whatever you carry on, and I still don't know why. Do you know why they've only allowed us 1 carry-on? we're not talking about a carry-on suitcase. We're talking about a carry-on item that can fit under your seat. So big backpack, whatever, however you want to travel.
Big purse.
Big purse, yeah, big purse, big backpack, however you want to travel.
CPAP is listed as medical, so.
They did mention that.
You will get clearance for that. Medical, all medical is cleared. Right. Okay, so we may have to have a couple of pieces of luggage in the aisle. So it was either the 23 passenger mini coach or the 48 passenger big coach, which cost twice as much. So I said, oh, no problem. We can make this work. And I know we can. So that won't be a big problem. So the cost for going down to O'Hare and return is $60 per person. And you are going to add that on to the check that you are going to write out for the tips and the shuttle. Okay. Tips are going to be $70 per person. So I will need a check made out to me. And boy, could I have fun. For $130. And Chris will put this in an email and give you the information, and he'll also give you my address. It would be nice if you could mail them to me within the next week or so.
We can just give them to you tonight, right?
And you can give me a check tonight. Absolutely. Yeah.
And with the tips, everything is included. If there's someone on the trip who really strikes you, and if you want to do something extra for them, you're welcome to do so. But you don't have to worry about tipping people as you go along. Well, that will be handled by the group leaders.
Yeah, right. So we will. Yeah.
Is that tip for the whole, those $70? Is that for the whole trip?
It is for the whole trip, and it
Oh.
covers guides, it covers bus drivers, it covers, you know, little escorts. Every once in a while, you don't have a guide, you have an escort. So yes, it covers all of that. And it covers your hotels. So basically, on a tip scale, we kind of figure $5 per person per day for the guide. We figure $3 per person per day for the bus. So we just have this scale that we kind of follow. I did round up so that we end up with an extra $100 just in case we forgot somebody. You never know when somebody does something special and you just want to thank them.
And
But
gratuities for the cruise are included in the price of the cruise, correct?
the tips for the cruise are included in the price of the cruise. The only thing you might like to do on the cruise is if your room is extremely clean and you're really happy, you can always leave something on the counter in your room. But other than that, and you cannot do that in the hotel as well, but we do have tips built in for the hotels. So, yeah, okay.
I don't know if you covered this at a previous meeting that I might have missed. What time are we leaving here?
Okay, thank you. We are leaving St. John's at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. That, I'm sorry, on,
Monday.
Are we leaving on Tuesday? I don't even know what
Monday.
day we're leaving. I know it's the 24th.
It's Monday,
That,
The Monday.
it's not a Sunday.
Monday.
It's a Monday, thank you. We leave here at 5:30. You should be here by 5:15. We arrive at O'Hare at 7, which is within the 3-hour recommended time limit that you be there before an international flight. Coming home, we will all get through customs, gather in an area outside of customs, and I will call the driver and tell them that we're ready to get on the bus, and then they'll come and pick us up and take us back here. It's about as easy as it can be.
You leave cars. You leave cars here.
Yes, you can leave cars here at the far end of the parking lot, the far south end of the parking lot. I don't know if there's anything else I need to cover. Pat.
Customs or anything going through Copenhagen before we get to Athens? Do we have to get our suitcases or is it all?
You have, in Athens, you will
No,
get.
in Copenhagen.
In,
And we transfer on our flight over. When we,
It'll pass through.
yeah, it should pass through.
Okay.
Our luggage in, when we go to Copenhagen and we transfer to Athens, the
oh, yeah,
luggage
we
is just
don't
handled.
touch the luggage at
Yeah,
all.
it's just handled.
Yeah, no, it goes all the way through, coming both ways. Yeah, no, that's convenient. Yeah, that's very convenient. Okay.
Just what time do we get back here? Would you get?
Well, I don't really have to guess. It's on the sheet that you picked up in the back.
You gotta get through customs. Right. Get to the bus. And then an hour and a half back. So,
Right.
figure an hour for customs in the bus. I think 45, an hour and a half to get back here, 7:15, 8:15.
Yeah.
8:15-ish will arrive back here. Maybe 8:16.
I'm glad we're flexible.
Now you have to figure about an hour to get out of customs, to get off the plane and to get out of customs. Anybody at home have any?
I
questions?
have a question. I heard that we need a European plug a converter for hair dryers or our phones or.
You need a plug, yes. Hair dryers, you don't have to worry about. They will be in the hotels unless you have a special one that you want to bring along. But yes, you'll need a charger for your phone or whatever item you're going to charge. So you'll need a special plug. I believe it is the 2-pronged round plug.
I'll send out a picture.
Okay. Good. Perfect.
Time here, Gail.
Hmm.
One of you, Mike. Speaker. There we go. All right, so you all have, I'm gonna send this to those at home also. We handed a sheet out. I'll send that to you as well, but I'm just gonna go through this a little bit. This has a lot of the details of stuff you really want to know. Let me get this on here, right? And a lot of things that you probably already know if you've traveled before, but it's got our airline schedule on the top. So we are getting into Athens fairly late. Did you confirm if we're getting a meal right when we get there?
I just sent that email.
Okay, yeah. So, but we'll be arriving in the evening, which is in a lot of ways is kind of nice. Then you just go to bed, right? Because you're kind of exhausted from travel and wake up refreshed the next day. But so you've got the flight schedule there. The biggest thing Gail already touched on, but we just really want to make sure you understand, it's one normal sized suitcase that you'll be checking, and then a bag. So it's not, usually it's a carry-on suitcase and a bag, right? It's just the bag is what they're saying to us. So that's really important. So if you show up with both, they'll charge you for the extra. Okay, so just be clear on that. Okay.
Bag has 50 pounds.
The normal limit for the suitcase, yes. For the suitcase. The bag is whatever you would normally fit under, which, you know, I normally bring a suit or a backpack, you know, something like this, and that goes under there.
Where do you put your feet then? Across the top of the seat?
The person next to me is, you'll be sitting next to me. They also talk about, and you probably, if you've traveled, you know this, it's that sense of if you're every so often randomly people lose suitcases, right? It happens. So because of that, if there's something that you must have for this trip, medication, eyeglasses, underwear, you know, things like that, you want to make sure you have at least a little, you want those key things in there. Funny, I'll tell you one funny story. We went to El Salvador once, Scott Falk. And first morning he walks out and he goes, well, it happened. And we said, what happened? He goes, I stepped on my glasses and I only have one glasses and they're destroyed now. And we're going, and he goes, and I'm blind as a bat without it, you know? And we're all going, oh no, this is terrible. And we're trying to think about what to do. And do we FedEx new glasses down to him? And we talked about this for a half an hour. Somebody comes out after half an hour and they said, are these the glasses you stepped on? He goes, yeah. He goes, those are your sunglasses. He couldn't see that he had stepped on he had his glasses. He just couldn't find them. So anyway, the point is, if you didn't have something and it would completely ruin your trip, you might want to have two of those and keep one in your carry-on bag, you know, those kind of things that you really need to have, you know, think about that. Okay. So if your trip would be completely ruined without it, make sure you've got it with you. Like we said, we had that happen to Chris last time, you know, her suitcase didn't come with, and we kept looking for it, and things happen like that every so often. So think about that.
For your classes?
Sure. Good point. So if we had to have an emergency pair made there, yeah, you'd have your prescription. We don't want to do this. This is not something we want to do. Okay, well, we'll be leaving you at the glass store and we'll pick you up at the end of the day, right? So they are 7 hours ahead, just to be mindful of that. So when your family are thinking about where you are, that's something to be mindful of. It's going to be in that range of going to be hot during the day and it's going to be cool at night. So you might want to have a light jacket with. Usually it's great for the airline too, because it's cold on the flights often. So having those kind of things is a good thing to have. Like it says, travel, pack light. That's a key thing. You all know where your passport is, right? You've seen it recently. If you don't know where it is, touch it tonight. So you can at least touch it and go, okay, yeah, I do know where it is. Don't go, well, I'm sure it's there from where I left it 2 years ago. You know, maybe somebody moved it on you and you don't even know it. So touch it and just know that you've got it. We're not going to be, go ahead.
Don't find it, call me, I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, that's a different story. And we won't be carrying them with us each day. You know, we're going to want to leave them with our stuff in the hotels. Yeah, you don't want to accidentally lose it while you're traveling, right? That's a big thing you don't want to do.
And if that happens, call me and I'll tell you what to do. But I didn't do it, somebody else. Carry photocopies of our passports?
Yes. So it's always good to have a photocopy, probably in all your different bags. So one in your suitcase, one in your carry-on bag, you know, and if you'd give us one, we'll keep it with. We actually have that. I think we have all of them in the, yes, I think I have them all in there. So if I don't.
I was pickpocketed in Venice when I got my passport.
Mm-hmm.
And what I soon found out when I went to Milan in order to get my passport was I needed to have brand new 2x2 photos for a new passport to be issued to me so I could get home. So it might not be bad to bring along some extra passport pictures.
If you happen to have extra passport pictures, you could bring those along. Yeah.
For speaking a different language from a store that takes passport pictures. It's interesting.
Yeah. And we can't mitigate every issue in the world, but if you have extra ones, it's not a bad thing to have with you. That does bring up the security safety kind of issue. So Rome, Athens, they're both known as pickpocket places, right? I'm going to try and send you in this email with all this stuff. I'm going to send you a couple YouTube videos of things to think about. All right. Because we're just not used to thinking about this, you know. So you're sitting in a cafe and you've got your phone on the table and you put your wallet on the table as you're having your nice cappuccino. And that's a great way for somebody to run past, grab it and run. You know, how do we think about these things as we're traveling? Where is my money? Is it hanging out of my pockets? Is it, you know, is it really easily pickpocketable? You know, and thinking about your neighbor. So as you see someone, you're like, you might want to put this away, you know, or tuck it in a little bit more. So it is something we want to think about when you have a suitcase, when you have a backpack with you and you're sitting at a cafe or something. You don't have it wide open like that, where it's easy for somebody easy to come and take it. You zip it up. There's lots of little I never can find it when I need it. There's lots of little locks like this that you can put through your zippers and lock it. So it's, that kind of thing. You can also get a little lanyard that goes around the chair. So if you're sitting at a cafe, you lock it to the chair. And that way, if somebody grabs it, they're not going anywhere. So there's little tricks like that, but you want to think about this as an issue because it is. I think John Paradowski, I think he had like all his cash stolen while he was in Rome, that kind of thing. So we want to think about that. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where suddenly you're trying to find passport photos for getting a new passport. We do not want to have to, that'll ruin your trip, right? We don't want to experience that. We've mentioned before shoes. Obviously, that's one of the key things, comfortable shoes. We're not really doing dress up days at all. So you don't have to really worry about bringing like tuxedos, right? But thinking about shoes, just being really comfortable, I think that's going to be a key. And I encouraged you before, if you haven't started, start walking. Every day you walk a little bit really does make the trip better. So the more you're doing that, you're in the smog. Walking in the smog will make it great when you're getting there. It's kind of like going to Colorado and going up to the mountains. Anyway, try to get a little bit of that going. In terms of money and cash, someone asked me, I forget who it was, asked me, do we need to bring euros? No, you do not. But it was really helpful to have credit cards, probably not American Express and not Discover. Those often are a little bit more challenging over there trying to find a place. So think about that. Call your credit card companies, tell them where you're going, when you're going. So when they're getting this charge from Athens, they're going, I didn't know they were in Athens. I'm going to deny this. And then suddenly you're trying to call the credit card company so you can buy all those kind of things. And so if you've called them ahead of time, warn them you're going to be there. It'll make it much better. So you really want to do that. Okay. That's a key thing. Yes. So speaking of any questions about the money part.
And if you want cash, you just go to an ATM, you pay the fee, but it's very convenient.
You might want to, you probably bring some cash and you can always change it over there as well. So I don't know, recommendation of how much cash to bring with.
It's not like they accept American dollars before you go, so
Right.
they're really not.
But if you
want euros, you go to the ATM.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So something to think
And
about.
Greece and Italy are euros. Turkey, they do take dollars. We didn't have any issues on our trip last year with
I get it a
dollars
lot.
in Turkey.
Not at the ice cream stand, is it?
They didn't, okay. Turkey has its own currency, the lira, but you probably won't need much, if any.
Credit
in
card
Turkey.
is the easiest
Yeah.
way to do it. So, and you incur a little bit of, there are credit cards supposedly, I don't have one, but that don't charge you the international fee, but
I checked. They have a Goldman Sachs.
Mhm.
So I went.
That's nice.
so that's one of the perks.
They also.
I wouldn't believe that, but
So you're buying all the drinks?
so if your credit card doesn't work, we'll talk to you. It is a good thing to do. So that's one of the perks, just like getting % back, that kind of thing, but.
To back her up, I just got an email this last week saying that US banks is where my credit card is. I do not have to call them before I go overseas. That's the first time they've ever did that.
Okay.
This is probably.
I just checked the date.
Okay.
So the recommendation though would be to call your credit card company. So that would just to double check, and they might say that exact thing and you'll go, great. So, but check for yourself, okay? And that goes along with cell phones. Do you have something else?
It's probably a good idea. Oh, it's probably a good idea to keep a copy of the telephone number of the credit card in case you lose it or it's stolen, so you have the number to call.
Good point. Yeah. So take a screenshot, a photo of the back of your credit card. So in the worst case scenario, it gets lost or stolen, you've got a number to call, right? So that's a good idea. Thank you, Jan. So cell phone, again, it's also helpful to call your cell phone carrier. Check on the international rates and what do they allow. Some, again, it's one of those things they say, oh, we're good in 80 countries. Others might say, yeah, you can use it. We're just going to charge you $50 a day, to use it. Or they'll say we can add a plan. You can add an international plan. They've got lots of different plans. Now there's, you probably understand data versus minutes, right? Calling minutes. That's important to understand, because if you're using your Google Maps over there to find out where you are in Rome and what's, you're using data, even though you're not calling anyone, you're using the cell data. And so that's sucking up a lot of data to do that. So you want to check on what do they give you with, $10 a day or whatever it is. Most of them are around 10, but you can also say, well, I want my plan, my unlimited plan. What would that cost me for 10 days? That kind of thing. So talk with them. They'll sell you on something, right? If you don't want to pay that, you just put it on airplane mode and you don't use it while you're walking around. When you're in the hotel, you turn it on Wi-Fi and you use their Wi-Fi for free, because the hotels will have that, the ship will have that. Might not be awesome, but you'll be able to get your emails and that kind of thing. So that is one way to do it. Just keep it on airplane mode and just use Wi-Fi wherever you're there. I think he said the bus they were gonna.
Usually they do. And in 2018, we did this trip and we're on the same ship we're on this time.
Mhm.
And there you had to pay for Wi-Fi. That's in 18. I don't know if it's the same now. So
guess
you
it's
might,
included.
we'll have to check with the ship about Wi-Fi.
So I would recommend probably getting some sort of international plan, even if it's a little bit, so something to think about. But do call just so you know what happens. I had an experience in El Salvador where I was using my phone and AT&T called me. So we just want to make sure you knew you're up to about $550 worth of charges right now. Would you prefer to be on a plan? Yes, please. So it was only $120 to move to the plan versus we'll retroactively do that for you. Thank you. So it's good to know and just think about that. Okay. Any questions on phones? All right. Let's see. We talked about having stuff with you, change of clothes on your carry-on bag. Medication is really important to have those with you. Thinking about that. We had the experience with the Israel trip, a bunch of us got a lot of coughing going on, and that was just, so if you have, it's one of those things you might want to bring medication, like if you started getting basic sick or something like that, you brought some, Robitussin or Tylenol DM or whatever it is, Mucinex DM, that kind of thing. It's one of those things if you wanted to, but think about it. Water bottle would be a good thing to have. They will have water bottles on the bus that you can buy. They're usually $1, I think, on the bus, but you can bring your own water bottle and carry it with you, fill it up at the hotel, that kind of thing. So something to think about. You might want to bring in a notebook, just a journal as you go, something like that. Obviously bring in a Bible if you want to bring that. I use my cell phone for my Bible, so you could do it that way as well. If you do that, you might want to download the Bible on the app. You can actually download, so you're not using data. So even if you're in a situation where you're not around data and you're not trying to use it, you can still look at it. So something to think about. You might want to have some snacks. Often those are just like the individual bags of snacks, like trail mix in a bag, that kind of thing. Not huge bags, but just some little stuff. So
Is the water, I'm assuming the water in Athens and Rome is potable from
yeah.
fountains and everything?
Mhm.
Some places it's not, but I would imagine it is.
Yes. Mhm. And then they've got some emergency contact numbers for our guides and stuff like that at the bottom there. And just a big reminder at the bottom to make sure you've got your passport. So any questions people have at home or here, or things that anybody else wants to remind everybody about? I know we've all traveled quite a bit, so.
I think the only places we had to make sure we were properly attired was the Vatican, and I don't remember for men, if men have to wear long pants at the Vatican. And if women have to have their shoulders covered, can anyone remember?
Pretty sure shoulders had to be covered when
Okay.
shoulders and knees. No, it was more just you couldn't have bare shoulders.
Sleeveless shirt like what Deb has on, she'd have to put.
She would not be appropriate in church.
And my knees are.
In a youth room, it's fine, but not in the Sistine Chapel, right?
Sister would take a shawl.
Yeah.
And tie it around her butt.
Oh.
And then it would be long.
Sure. And that's a great way, just to have a light shawl with you, and you might want to just be able, if you're getting a little chilly, you pull it out. So that kind of thing. So
I get chilly. It was in that day, it always had a.
that's great.
Not a rainbow.
Dale, make sure you've got your shawl. Anybody else at home? Yep, Linda.
So I carry something called Liquid IV. I can buy it at Costco. It's because I'm prone to dehydration. Can I bring those in the plane with me? The packets of powder?
Yes, if they're powder, you can, because
Okay.
it's labeled, as long as you don't empty them out,
Yeah,
like a baggie or something, because then they can't tell.
No.
what it is. Leave it in the liquid IV pouch, and yes.
okay.
Yeah, you don't want to bring white powder in a little baggie. That's
No. No,
but yeah, no, if it's already labeled and that kind of thing, that's helpful.
okay.
Good idea. You cannot bring Westies on the plane. That's or cats. Like you said, there'll be enough of them there.
Yes, our bags will come out meowing, so.
That's right. Any other questions?
What
This
day do
is
we
a-
get back? Is it earlier now?
Well, like we said, we'll probably arrive or at O'Hare around 5:45, get through customs and find the bus. That'll probably take around an hour or so. So that's 6:45, and that's an hour and a half to drive back. So
What's the date?
the 3rd,
The
August
3rd
3rd.
now, okay, okay. Just when I contact my
I'll try and
credit
send
card.
out just the latest itinerary because we did a little bit of shuffling, so.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a little confusing when you say arrive and depart here. I don't know, depart and arrive. It says 5:45, I took that as being arrival here.
So yeah, you've got the from Copenhagen to O'Hare. So that last one would be leave Copenhagen at 3:40, arrive at 5:45.
Okay.
I mean, and remembering that when we're coming back this way, yeah, so it's 7 hours difference.
Yeah.
So that's always try and get your brain around that. So. Other questions, you'll notice on the sheet, you've also got the hotels. We gave that to you earlier, but just in case you want to look them up, or if you want to make a copy of this and give this to your family, at home, so they know where you are, that's helpful. If they needed to get a hold of you, that's a good thing. It has not yet. I'm gonna send it out, yes. Yeah. Well, I'll send it to the whole group with all that stuff.
So as far as the tickets.
Yeah, and. Is that out there? Yeah, you got that, right? Yes. You have to have your passport. So when you get there, you show your passport, and the e-ticket it's electronic, so you don't have to give them anything. So yeah, you just have, your passport is the key. Okay, so.
You won't get your airline ticket from Athens to Rome will be given to us when we get there.
So-
When we're ready to when we're ready to go to the airport. We don't.
Yeah, so the first round is Chicago to Athens, right? And we stop in Copenhagen. So you'll get essentially 2 tickets, right? 2 paper tickets when you check in, right? Using the e-ticket and showing your passport. We'll get to Athens, we'll tour Athens for several days. We get on the cruise, we do the cruise, we come back to Athens, then we fly from Athens to Rome. Okay, that's another thing. That's a different ticket you'll get. We do tour Rome for several days. Then when we're ready to leave, then we go check in again with our e-ticket, going from Rome back to O'Hare with a stopover. Well, it's right there. and we will have a copy of that as well. So we'll all have that else. Nope, nope.
Yes, just your passport.
Your passport's the trick, yes.
Who are we giving our passports to that gives us the?
When you check in.
Yes.
So when we go to O'Hare and we check in, you're gonna show them your passport. They give you,
I've never traveled while having tickets.
so you'll get a ticket when you check in. But you don't need to print something beforehand.
Okay.
You just show them your passport. We're gonna show up as a group and they're gonna see that on their screen and they're just gonna be checking their BM.
Sitting together or close or?
No, I'm sure it's gonna be around, yeah, and I'm not sure what that is. I don't think it listed on there, so, yeah. So,
Chris,
yes.
are you going to get our luggage tags to us, or should I pick it up from you or Paul, Pastor Paul?
Probably from Paul because.
I can take them back to Grafton and we can arrange for you to get them.
Okay.
So I'm not sure for like Butch, I don't know if you guys want to grab those. You did. Now, and you guys will see Butch, Brian? You're in the same area, so should we be getting yours too to Butch? Because,
See Butch and Jill the 4th of July, so I could get their stuff too.
yeah, that would be good, right?
Yeah.
And Linda, I'm wondering if we just have it here when she gets here?
If you can get it to Jan, I'll be seeing her.
Oh,
Okay, I'll bring everything back to Grafton for the two of you then.
Okay.
And we'll just arrange Janet time to pick it up.
It is
Okay,
helpful
so-
to use.
Can I still send you my picture? I haven't done that yet.
Yes, please. Did you get my email today?
I
think
gotta
there's a
check.
no.
Okay,
There should, yeah, so just send it to that.
okay.
It is helpful to have our luggage tags just because then when we're all pulling luggage off and you see one of those, it's easy to help each other. One thing we didn't hand out tonight that we may have by the time we leave, this is kind of one of those good thing, bad things, are the red hats. So they'll have red hats for us. People really aren't too excited about that usually, just because people don't like to wear hats. Yep. And so it's a, you know, it's nice for when we're at the Acropolis and where's my group? There's the group, you know? So that is one of those things that kind of helps identify us. I'll probably try to keep wearing mine just because you'd be like, find the guy with the red hat and you'll find him, that kind of thing. So, so we will get those and we'll hand them out when we depart, okay? And it is nice, especially in really tough times when it's really busy, really full, just to be able to say, here's the group. The cruise, when we get to the cruise, there will be a whole bunch of stuff that we'll have to do that's a checking in thing. And you also have to wait for your room to get ready and things like that. There'll be a whole process that we'll all have to be really patient for. But we'll do that together and it will take several hours to go through that. It's kind of like getting on an airline. You know, you have to check in, you get on board and then you have to wait for your room to be ready and then wait for you to be called and all that kind of stuff. So even if you have a red hat, it doesn't expedite the process at all. No. So, so that'll be a thing when we get to that point. But each day we'll stop, we'll talk about what's coming up, what to prepare for the next day, you know, have this is what we're planning to do, you know, all those kind of things. So to try and get everybody set and ready for the next day. Okay.
And I think we mentioned at one of our earlier meetings, if it's your first trip, when we're out surrounded by groups, you're going to have an earphone and a little electronic device. And the guide will have a microphone. So even if there's 50,000 people around, you can still hear what our guide is saying, as opposed to the old days where you had guides yelling over each other. So that's very, very nice.
Yeah. They call them whispers. I will recommend, it is helpful if you prefer a certain type of headphone, I would recommend that you bring it. They will give you just, these whispers are not like high-end earphones, but they all use the normal 3.5-inch stereo plug, you know, the thing that we're used to. The basic, it's just the basic kind that we're all used to. so if you prefer a certain type
Ask
of
Gail.
headphone that, like even the
Ask
Apple,
Gail
the
what
old
she
Apple wired pods will work, you know? So it's up to you if you want that. If you just want to use what they give you, that's fine. They'll be brand new, but they're not like, you know, Bose headphones.
Actually using the airline plug instead of the one that they provided.
Yeah.
That was better.
And that's another option too, to keep that from the airline, and you might want to choose that instead. Sometimes changing it up a little bit is easier on your ears too, because your ear gets tired from a certain type. I just mention it because if you're somebody that really wants to have a certain one, that's something. Okay. Good. Any questions at home? Feel free to contact any of us. We're happy to answer questions as we go. I will send out all that information again, so it'll be in one email and we've got it all. But okay, I hope you're excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be it is really a wonderful trip, and it's gonna be great. Okay. Can we close with prayer? The Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Dear great and gracious God, we are excited, looking forward to a wonderful tour. We're looking forward to learning more about the Apostle Paul and how you spread your word throughout the world through him. Marvel at his steps and how he moved around the world at that time and really shared the incredible message of your love. Bless us during this time to really learn. Bless us as a group to support and care and be with one another to really enjoy this time. And we just thank you for this opportunity. We are blessed and we thank you for that. As we go home tonight, we ask that you help us to rest and to sleep so that we can wake up ready to serve you again tomorrow. We thank you for these things, and in your name we pray. Amen. Thanks, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Gail, Gail, do we make checks out to you?
Right.
If you want to.